Hey everybody, see that? That's a Fleming diode. Fleming diode is basically the beginning of electronics. And if you want to know more, I can go into a 45-minute dissertation, or I'll just put a link below to something else. Yeah, we'll just put a link below. So why am I showing you this? Well, my brother wants one of these. About a year ago, my oldest brother decided he needed one of these. Well, Fleming diodes aren't just lying around anywhere, except at, like universities and museums and stuff. And, well, they wouldn't give me one to look at or touch, and then they escorted me off the property. But I decided that my brother needed one, so I bought a lamp, and then I modeled up a thing that looked like the Fleming diode. You could see I put in some features in there to hold a switch and all sorts of cool stuff, printed it up, and immediately ran into all sorts of issues. Yep, that's a grinder. The switch didn't fit, and I had to change pretty much all the directions because, well, that happens. Now, normally I would go back and print 3-4 more, but I decided to make this for Christmas for my brother, and I decided about, a week before Christmas. Now, with only about a week, I didn't have time to do multiple iterations of the 3D model, so I had to make this work. After grinding all that stuff and making everything fit, I realized I didn't put the wire lugs I needed in the model. So, PETG, well, it threads pretty well. The bolts held well, and they're still holding today, well, I assume. But I had to make this work, and sometimes it's fun to be under a time crunch because that's where you get the most inventive. After I got I don't even know what that thing was called. We'll call it the insulator done, and it was time to put the lamp back together. So here, just some basic wiring. I went ahead and heat shrink everything. Wanted to make sure this didn't come apart or have any issues for him. At this point in the video, you may be wondering, why would anybody want a replica of a Fleming diode or a Fleming valve? Well, my brother's always been into computers, always liked electronics, and he has a recording studio. And he loves the idea of being able to tell everyone that, see that lamp on my shelf? Without the Fleming valve, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. That includes this video. So, it's one of the most underappreciated scientific discoveries in recent history, but it also makes for a very cool looking lamp. And I wanted to make sure that we really nailed the early 1900s, late 1800s look to this. So I thought, you know what the best way to do that is to add USBs to this lamp. That's right. I put a 5-volt power supply in there, and there's a ridiculous amount of hot glue. But there you go. Nice little lamp. Thanks, Menards. And USBs. Now it's time to add some external wires. The Fleming diode had a bunch of wires where it was connecting and measuring different electronic charges flying through the vacuum of the light bulb. Now, I was not going to drill into the light bulb, but I needed to make it look like it. And this sometimes is really fun. Now, when you're trying to make a prop look like something authentic, especially when there's a lot of documented evidence of it, it becomes difficult. Sometimes you get stuck looking at a single part, trying to make it look exactly like it. For a long time, I didn't know how to make this because if you remember the pictures from the beginning of this, it had wire-like feet. So you have to make some, artistic decisions. And at the end of the day, I just decided to use those pictures as inspiration. I got some springs out of the drawer, I made some springs out of wire, and at the end of the day, I wanted him to be able to replace the light bulb if he needed to, without having to mess with any of the wires. So, sometimes this takes a lot longer than you think, but it's also sometimes the best and most fun. Here I made my own wing nut because I saw that in a picture, wanted it to hang out, and once I got it all done, I was like, this looks pretty cool, but this would really be old, and I needed it to be old, so you know what that means. It's time for me to weather it. Now, I've really noticed a trend. I like to get old things and make them look new, and then I like to build new things and make them look old. I don't know what that says about me. We'll just pretend I didn't say that and just add some paint to this random steampunk looking light. Really not a lot to say here. It's the same thing I always do. I used some acrylic paint. I wanted to add some browns, some grays, Figured, wanted this to look like we found it in the back of a museum. Like those museums that kicked me out when I said I wanted to touch the display. Oh well. Anyway, so there we go. We paint it on and we rub it off and paint it on, rub it off. It looks dirty. Sounds dirty too, but that's fine. The insulator I actually painted with some primer, some hot rod primer or something. It was the closest I had on the shelf to the pictures, and it turned out really well. The cool thing is the primer really soaks up the weathering paint, and it turned out really well. You've got a lot of highlights and lowlights. I added some more gold to the knob such that it looked like one of the wiring lugs, and then I came in with some green. Now the wire that I have wrapped around it actually was wire I used to hang and paint things, so they had lots of paint and all sorts of different colors on them, which really added to the aesthetic. As I said here, the final was just to add some, well, that was my arm. That's some good videography. Just to add some green to make it look like some oxidation there. So again, kind of steampunk. It's a replica of a very underappreciated scientific discovery, and it's a pretty cool lamp that charges your phone. Now you may ask, and did your brother like it? Yeah, he did. He held it up like the monkey held up Simba in Lion King. So I'll take that as he liked it. Well, I hope you like this. We'll see you next time. Thanks.